Hey there, everybody. Good news. I got a new cord for my microphone, so hopefully it'll be a little less scratchy tonight. Welcome to our live stream. Welcome to our live stream tonight. It is a live reading of our latest Choose Your Own Adventure story, The Curse of Camp Nostalgia. If you're new to this, every now and again I write Choose Your Own Adventure stories for you guys. And they seem to be pretty well liked, so I keep writing them. Hello, hello, hello. Hopefully you guys are having a good night. I'm having a pretty good night, so. Next week will be my... Let's see if we've got any news here. Next week will be my vacation for a week from uploads, but you'll still get Cozy Horrors and you'll still get some long form stuff in the evening, so you can look forward to that. Good to see all you guys. Let's see. Of course, if you weren't here last week, the winners of our contest were Bev and Leia. So, yay! They've won. They'll win themselves books. He did. David's here, and we've been building chicken coops and doing stuff all week. That's why I've been so tied up lately. Trying to remember where I was at. Oh yeah. So they'll win some books, and we'll be doing another writing contest in December. I'll be getting with Leia and Bev soon to see which ones they want. I owe Leia 2 at this point, but I had already received her story, so I knew it was going to be really good, and I figured she'd probably get at least in the top 2 there. Let's see. I hope you guys have seen the pictures on there. We've got more chickens. Probably going to get some more come Monday, though God only knows where I'm going to put all of them. Let's see. What else? I'm trying to think if I've got any other pressing news. To reiterate, no new stories next week, but we will get some compilations and some cozy horrors and such while I rest my brain a little bit. So, yeah, that should be fun. I hope you guys enjoyed the Halloween stories we wrapped up last night. I think it was a pretty successful Kashmir Halloween. And you should look for the long form of that tomorrow morning, because I'm going to post that, so that you can get all of them in one big bite tomorrow morning. There's like 10 stories there. I think it's like 3 hours long almost. Either way, it's a biggie. Oh, definitely. Send some love for those chickens. But yeah, I think that's about all the old new whatever news. You're probably not wrong there. I was definitely feeling the strain there. Let's see. Gotta cue up my Jeopardy sounds here. Yeah, there we go. Which we always use in these situations. Alright, give it another couple of minutes, I guess, to get everybody here and in their seats and comfy before tonight's Choose Your Own Adventure live stream. I was going to do one for Halloween, but I liked the idea of this one so much that I kind of leaned into it. It's a little longer than the carnival one, but I think it might be a little shorter than the first one we did. Maybe just a little bit. Like it's about 6,000 words, so you know it's not too short. But drink up my coffee here. Well, it should be on at about 8:30, Leia, so you can look for it then. I meant to do one today, but man, I woke up late. And it's been a day, man. It's been a day. Next week I got to start helping my brother with his YouTube channel. So once I start posting things for him, I'll send you guys a link. He does blacksmithing stuff, so most of his content is more educational. You know, like making knives and making hooks and making stuff. And he's setting up out in the barn so he can hopefully start getting some work done next week. But I don't know. We should be able to get some videos up before December. I should hope. He wants me to be his social media manager for him. You make a few YouTube videos and people think you're good at it. But yeah, so once I start posting for him, I'll post some things that you guys can see, and go subscribe to him and let him know what you think of it. I told him I got a top-notch audience over here, so he'll have to make some good stuff. Sort of, yeah. He makes knives and he makes hooks and he makes pot holders and things. He's really good at it. He does really good work. I know he's looking forward to going out to the beach and trying to get some of the richer clients out there to let him, make some big metal palm trees or stuff for their gardens and stuff. But he makes like makes like railings and mailboxes and stuff too. He makes a lot of stuff. He's got quite a catalog. But yeah, so once I start doing stuff for him, I'll post some of it up here, and we'll let you guys have a look. Top notch, absolutely. Alrighty, so oh yeah, that's coming too, Blondie. We're gonna have an Etsy store, and I've got to start. I got to start being a little more proactive with my social media, since I'm also going to be managing his social media. I'm terrible at updating my social media. Anyway, alright, we're at about the 12-minute mark. I guess we'll get started. So, if it's your first Choose Your Own Adventure night, just remember, when we pause, put your answers in the comments section so that we know who wants to do what. Highest rated answer wins. Usually it's between 1 and 2, but it might be as many as 5, depending on what you guys want. But feel free to discuss amongst yourselves, and just make sure that you get your answers in the comment section so I know, so I know where to go with the story next. So, actually, hang on a second. Let me post that in the comment section. That way people know. Blondie, when I post this, I guess I can pin it. It's no big deal. Hang on. I need to get to the live stream so that I can do stuff with it. Okay. Comments. Sorry, post it to the comments here. That way we know how to proceed on our story here. Hopefully that helps. Alrighty. So, without further ado, let's get rolling. This is called the Curse of Camp Nostalgia. And, if it doesn't take too long and you guys want to, we can go back and redo some parts if that's what you want to do as well. Anyway, where did my lip balm go? Oh no. However, will I do my live stream without lip hydration? There it is. Remember, guys, if you want proper hydration, you got to use Duke Cannons. Duke Cannons, send me some money. All right. Let's get rolling. Hopefully the sound quality's a little better. Like I said, I got a new cord for the mic, so hopefully. No. Oh, yeah. Normal's decided that he likes to go outside now and go be a feral cat until he wants scritchies. So he's outside hanging out with big dangerous dogs and the things that live in the woods, and I wish he'd come back inside. He needs to hurry back. So he has decided that he likes the new fall weather, which it's more like winter weather. It's like 30 degrees out there. That is abnormal Florida weather for October. Well, November now, but you know what I mean. Anywho, so let's get started. Oh, spoiled for definite. Let's get started with the curse of Camp Nostalgia. There are two things you remember from your childhood. One is the time that Deborah Moore told everyone that you had cooties in the 3rd grade. And also the second is the summers you spent at Memorial Lake. Camp Nostalgia was a large summer camp where you and several of your friends spent your summers and enjoyed canoeing, hiking, swimming, archery, arts and crafts, and a summer full of memories. That was a long time ago, and you and your friends get together sometimes and talk about your summers spent at the camp. One day, Morgan suggests that the 5 of you... Marcy suggests that the 5 of you drive up and see the camp, and if it's still there. It's nearly Halloween, and the weather is pretty nice, so you guys decide to go and have a look. You ride up from Boston, and the 5 of you talk about the camp and the summers that you spent there. Let's see. Do you guys remember the kid who went missing our last year at camp? Ella asked. Oh man, Wayne said. I hadn't thought about that in years. Do you remember the story? Marcy asked, turning to you. You've always been the member of the group who remembers stories and legends. It's your niche, and you don't mind fulfilling your role. You tell them about the kid that went missing on the last year you attended summer camp. The last time any of you attended summer camp, actually. His name was John. None of you knew his last name, but that wasn't that uncommon for kids. You'd gone to summer camp with him for the last 4 years, but he wasn't really part of your friend group. He existed in the same world that the 4 of you inhabited, but you would never have done more than ask him if you could borrow socks or to pass the salt. On what would be the last day of camp, the entire bunkhouse had gone on a hike. It wasn't that uncommon. Lots of you went on hikes throughout the day, and when you came back from this one, John was nowhere to be seen. No one knew when he had left the group, but he couldn't be found anywhere. The adults searched the woods for him, but nobody ever found him to your knowledge. All the kids were sent home early after that, and the adults came to get them as the camp was called off. It was the last year you attended, but to your knowledge, he was never found. There's an urban legend that's been going around for a while that claims that all the howling in the woods is from his ghost, but that's just a dumb story that kids tell. The truth is, the kid probably just starved to death out there, and one day somebody would stumble across his corpse or something. The area was supposed to have problems with wolves and coyotes as well, so it's possible that one of them got him. Guess we better keep our eyes peeled then, said Morgan, as they took a left down an access road that would get them pretty close to the camp. We don't want to run afoul of anything out there when we're trying to enjoy our hike. The five of you laugh as you bump down the access road that will take you to the old camp. At least you hope it will. None of you have been to the camp in a long time, and the idea that it could have just been gone would certainly be pretty sad. You had heard that there were plans to put something in the place where the camp used to be, but you haven't heard anything about that in a while. Another 30 minutes of bumping along, and suddenly you pass under an old sign for Camp Nostalgia. It looks just the same as it did the last time you were here. The bunkhouses are a little rickety, and the grass is quite a bit higher, but everything else is just the same. You can see the naked flagpole hanging in the middle of the yard. The boat dock is still clinging to the shore like it's afraid it might fall off. The camp clearly hasn't been attended in quite some time, but you suppose that's good. The last thing you want is to get kicked out by some homeless people or a trendy meditation spa employee who's set up shop there. Look, Marcy said, the old bunkhouse is still intact. How about it, guys? Let's sleep in the old Redbird cabin tonight, for old time's sake. Everyone agrees, and you take your sleeping bags into the old cabin for a little bit of setup before you start your activities. As you're setting up, you notice something odd on one of the walls. It looks like claw marks, and you wonder if maybe a bear or a wild dog got in here and decided to scratch up the place. You lay your sleeping bag over the rickety frame of an old bunk bed, and as you finish getting everything right, you notice that everyone except for Ella has left to pursue their activities. You move to the door of the cabin and see that Morgan is standing on the boat dock, while Wayne has gone exploring the mess hall. You can see Marcy looking at something on the bulletin board by the camp counselor's office, and you can hear Ella lying on the old frames as she probably prepares to read a book. Which path would you like to pursue? Okay, so, choice time. Everybody ready, I hope. Number 1 will be going to see what Ella is reading. Number 2, go see what Morgan is looking at. Number 3 is we go see what Marcy is looking at. And number 4 is we go help Wayne explore the mess hall. So, that's our options. Let me post these in the chat. If the chat will load. Ah, dang it. Okay, so 1 is Ella, 2 is Morgan, 3 is Marcy, and 4 is Wayne. So, let's make our choices. Looks like we've got 2 for Marcy so far. So far, it looks like we're going to see what Marcy's up to first. Up. Well, let's see. 2 for Wayne, 2 for Marcy, and 1 for El. No. 2 for Morgan, 2 for Marcy, and 2 for Wayne. Let's go check on Marcy first, I guess. We'll go with option number 3. Alright, so we'll start with Marcy. Alright, so you walk towards the counselor's cabin and find Marcy looking at a bulletin board. It's the usual cork board that's always been there, talking about archery contests or canoe races or any number of other activities that generally happen over the summer. You follow her eyes and see her looking at a warning about wild animals in the woods. She turns to look at you, laughing as she wonders why they're bothering to tell campers about cowardly coyotes and the timid wolves that usually could be found around the area. I don't know why they would bother, honestly. I don't ever remember seeing one of those wolves closer to camp than about 5 miles. Most of them run off when you make enough racket. Marcy thinks maybe they should have brought some repellent or maybe some bear mace with them when they went out in the woods. We wouldn't want to get disturbed on our hike later, she says with a little wink. All right, so we have discovered what Marcy is up to. So, now we're on to our next activity. Where do we want to go next? Do we want to go see what Ella is reading, go see what Morgan is looking at, or do we want to go help Wayne explore the mess hall? So, one for Ella. Nah, it doesn't work. Two for Morgan. Three for Wayne. So, let's cast our votes. What do we want to do, guys? Looks like we're going with Wayne this time. I hope this sound is not copyrighted. I should have looked that up. Bump, 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 dump, dump. Alrighty. Looks like we're going with Wayne. Hey, how's it going? So let's see what... Okay, so we're going to go explore the mess hall with Wayne. You find Wayne pulling on a lock that's been wrapped around the doors of the mess hall. It doesn't seem like anybody's been there in a very long time, and Wayne is curious to see if there's any old camp stuff in there. The problem is that somebody has locked it up with a big chain and a padlock. The lock is pretty thick, but the chain is looking pretty rusty. I seem to remember there was a maintenance shed over by the archery course. Think you could go over there and see if there's some bolt cutters in there? Seems like there ought to be. So, are we going to help Wayne, or are we going to wander off again? Yes or no? Ooh, good luck, Leia. Do we want to help Wayne, or do we want to go on to something else? Looks like a resounding help for Wayne here. Okay, so we're gonna help Wayne. Cool. Let me know when you get it. I'll be here waiting. You head over to the maintenance shed, the one that's just off the bow and arrow course, and you see that it's still intact. It's not a very big shed. You think your dad had one twice this size when you were a kid, but the door creaks open easily as you push it. The inside is dusty, smelling of mold. There's a small assortment of garden tools inside, some limb loppers, assorted rakes, a shovel, a dull-looking axe, and the bolt cutters that Wayne wanted. As you reach for them, you hear a growling noise from the door. You turn around and see a large rust-colored wolf, its teeth bared, and its one good eye glaring daggers at you. He advances on you, and you don't have much time to find a weapon. So, what weapon will you choose? We have an axe, a rake, bolt cutters, a shovel, or you can kick the door closed. So, what are we thinking? Hang on. One for axe, two for bolt cutters, three for rake, four for shovel, five for kick the door closed. My bad. All right, there we go. Alrighty, so Cast your votes. What kind of weapons are we using? Looks like we got 2 for an axe. Cast your votes, everyone. Oop, somebody wants a shovel. Looks like the axes have it, though. So, let's see what good we can get from an axe. Oh, no. That's no good. Where is Peggy? Like, I feel like she's usually here. Alrighty, so axe it is. You grab up the axe, but your previous assessment of it was correct. The blade is rusty and extremely dull. As the wolf leaps at you, you swing the axe anyway and catch him in the shoulder. It doesn't deliver the satisfying spray of blood you were hoping for, but he does fall back a little bit and shake his head before running off. Look at that. You guys survived a wolf attack. Yay! So, with the wolf vanquished, you can now take the bolt cutters to Wayne. Well, Blondie, tell her I said hi. I wish she was here. I hope she's enjoying the story. Okay, so you take the bolt cutters to Wayne. Wow, they're actually in pretty good shape, Wayne says, as he takes the bolt cutters from you and tests them. These should work just fine. Hang on a second. He snips the lock off without much effort, and as he goes in, he looks back as if asking if you want to come with him. So, are we going with Wayne or are we not going with Wayne? Those are our choices. What do you think? Are we going with Wayne or are we not going with Wayne? I guess we'll cease with the Jeopardy then before I get kicked off. All right, that's 1 for going with Wayne. 2 for going with Wayne. I don't know. That sounds like a consensus to me. Well, we'll go ahead and go with Wayne, I suppose. Cool, I could use some backup. Just keep an eye out for rats or something. I'm sure the place is crawling with them. The 2 of you enter the mess hall and find the same empty area that you've eaten in as kids 100 times. The tables are all in long rows, the same way they were all those years ago, and a few of them even have metal trays on them as if whatever closed the camp occurred right at breakfast. Wayne is looking around for something cool to take home with him. You, however, can't seem to ignore the obvious signs of upset around you. There's a lot of scratch marks on the floor, and more than a few things that look like bloody drag marks. Whatever happened in here, it was pretty violent, and you wonder if it's smart to be here after all that. Everything you've seen so far seems to indicate that leaving might be a better idea, and you start to tell Wayne that you don't feel safe when he suddenly yells, "Jackpot!" and points to one of the camp flags that's hanging on the wall. "This is going to look real cool on my wall at home." He gets up on a chair and takes it down, rolling it up as he puts it in his pocket. "All right, let's go check out the kitchen. Maybe there's some canned food in there, and we can feel like authentic scouts as we eat our beans and franks around the fire." The 2 of you proceed into the kitchen, but it's a mess. There's all kinds of junk and leftovers, and even a few pots and pans that seem to have been tossed haphazardly around. Haphazardly around. Something has been in here, and you don't think it was rats. The window around back looks like something jumped through it. There are tear marks on the wall and even a long rip down the front of the metal refrigerator. There's a lot of bad feelings about you have a lot of bad feelings about this, but as Wayne starts going through the cabinets, it begins to feel like it might be just you. Score! We've got some beans and franks, same kind they used to feed us here. We'll cook 'em up tonight and really feel like we're back at camp. Remember how Chef Gus used to say they were homemade, and he would wink at us like we didn't know they were out of a can? You start to answer, but the growl from the window has both of you turning around. The same wolf that attacked you in the tool shed is back again, and as he stands atop one of the counters in the kitchen, he looks even bigger than he did before. "That's a big wolf," Wayne said. "We better make a break for it." Wayne turns and runs back the way he came, but you realize the wolf will be on you before you can escape. So, what do you do? Do you 1. Throw a pan at it. 2. Hide in the freezer. 3. Make a run for it. Make sure that's all. 3. Oh, or 4. Toss a can of beans at it. Alright, so make your choices and be damned by them. So, what'll it be? We've got 1 for hiding in the freezer, it looks like. 1 for making a run for it. Anybody else want to weigh in? So far, okay. We've got 1 for throwing a can of beans at it. It's beginning to look like 1 more might tip us over. So, who wants to be the deciding vote here? Anybody? Anybody? Oh, Leia says make a run for it. I guess that's what we'll go with. Okay, so we're going to make a run for it. Let's see. Wayne may have escaped, but you are not so lucky. The wolf's feet come down in the center of your back, pushing you to the ground as he bites into the back of your neck and chews on your spine. You died. Well, we have died. So let's go back and make another decision. Do we want to? We want to. Okay, so we know that running will get us killed. So do we want to throw a pan, hide in the freezer, or throw a can of beans? So let's try this one again. See if we can't make it out alive this time. Alright, I see 1 for throw a can of beans. That's 2 for beans. That looks like 3 for beans. I think we'll go with beans. Beans it is. The wolf catches the can of beans in his mouth, crunching down as the contents pop, and it swallows the old standby of campers for generations. As it munches on beans, you have a chance to escape. Yay, you lived. So, you and Wayne escape the mess hall, and as you come back out, Wayne throws the door closed and puts the chain back on sloppily. Dang, that was pretty scary. The wolves aren't usually that aggressive around here. I can't remember having actually ever seen one up close. I guess we'll keep the door to the pantry closed since it looks like it already has an occupant. Excuse me. All right, so our next question is, do we want to go talk to Ella, or do we want to go talk to Morgan? Ella or Morgan? Who are we going to go see next? Morgan is out on the dock, and Ella is back in the bunk reading a book. So, which one do we want? I'm going to get to explore some options today. I see 2 for Ella. Can we make it a third? Okay. That's 3 for Ella. I guess we will go talk to Ella. Let's see. We got to go back up a little bit. Wayne's was a little bit long. Okay. Ella is lying on one of the old bunks and reading some kind of romance novel. When she sees you staring, she grins and holds up the book so you can see it. I'm on the last book of the Camberden trilogy, and I'm really hoping that Lady Camberden and Mr. McGrady finally get together. I'm almost done, and I really, really want to finish it up before I go exploring. Want to sit and read with me? So, do we want to sit and read? Yes, we want to sit and read, or no, we do not want to sit and read. That is the question. What say you? Do we want to listen to Ella's romance novel or not? No, that was quick. No. Okay, that's a consensus. No on the romance novel. Ella shrugs. Suit yourself. Romance isn't really everyone's cup of tea, I suppose. So, we're left with Morgan. So we'll go check out what's going on with Morgan. Morgan is standing on the rickety dock where the camp used to launch its canoes. He's staring intently out at the woods beyond the docks, and he jumps a little when you ask him what he's looking at. He grins sheepishly, clearly not having expected you to creep up on him. Sorry, I just saw something in the woods across the lake. It looked like a wolf, but there haven't been any wolves in the area for years. I remember reading a thing about the wolves being driven to extinction in this area by some kind of disease. So, I guess it must be a big coyote or something. Even so, I guess we might want to be careful tonight if we go out. I think Marcy is trying to get a hike together for this evening. Is that something you'd be interested in? Before you can answer, you see something large and gray step out of the woods and drink from the lake. Morgan was right. It looks like a big wolf. It's only a single one, though, so you suppose it's probably not too big a deal. As long as it stays in the woods and doesn't come into the camp, you suppose you'll probably all be safe. As he finishes drinking, the wolf looks up at you and seems to notice that you're here. Then he heads back into the woods and out of sight. Alright, so we've talked to everybody, so we're going to move on to the next part. Okay. Campfire. Just as it starts getting dark, you see Morgan and Wayne begin setting up the campfire. They start making preparations for dinner as Ella and Marcy start laying out things for hot dogs and stew. The beans that Wayne got from the mess hall pair nicely with the hot dogs, and as everyone gathers to help prepare the meal, Morgan wants to know more about the wolf that you and Wayne saw. You sure it was the same one? You tell him you're sure it was, and he looks dubious. That kind of color pattern would be pretty rare. I don't think I've ever heard of a wolf looking like that. The two of you talk about wolves as the beans start cooking, and the hot dogs begin to sizzle. All around you, the night sky unfurls its beauty. The sounds of crickets and night birds remind you of the times you spent at camp when you were much younger. Sitting around the campfire with your friends really takes you back to a time before job interviews and college loans, car payments, and doctor visits. You remember the carefree times when you were still a kid, and it's just what you need this weekend. Excuse me. You eat and reminisce and feel a lot better. You needed this. It's been a tough couple of years, and having someone or a group of someones to talk about good times with really makes it feel a lot better. It's getting late, but you know that you're not thinking of bedtime yet. Marcy has been talking about going on a nighttime hike for weeks, and after all of you are full on hot dogs and beans, it'll be out into the woods so you can retrace some historic hikes from when you were kids. Hiking in the woods in the middle of the night might not be the best idea, but it sounds like a ton of fun, and you've been looking forward to it for weeks now. All right, says Marcy, are we ready for our hike? Absolutely, Ella says. 100%, Morgan says as he dusts off his pants. Wayne belches, laughing as he gives Marcy a thumbs up. All of you set out for the trailhead, meaning to take the Winterlock Trail that always signals the beginning of a season for the scouts of Camp Nostalgia. The woods are an amazing place, providing as many memories for your childhood as anything else. You love the sound of the wind as it goes through the trees, and the night birds as they call to each other and make their way up the trail. It's a peaceful sound, the sort of thing that makes you feel 9 years old again. And as you and your friends make your way along the familiar path, which will take you to Glen Forest Overlook, you feel something new that you haven't felt in a while. Perhaps it's a side effect of seeing the wolf. Maybe it's a little bit of a leftover apprehension from seeing gnashing teeth and snarling jaws twice today. Hey, Osiris. But it almost feels like something is following you. You can hear it as it clumps along in the woods, the heavy feet of a predator as it follows not far behind you. If the others sense it, they don't say much, content to make their way and see the sights. It isn't until you notice Ella glancing around in distress that you realize she's felt it too. Do any of you feel that? It's like we're being hunted by something. I don't, Marcy said, but she takes her earbuds out, and it's obvious that she's been in her own little world this whole time. I hear something, but nothing out of the ordinary, Morgan chimes in. You didn't notice it before, but you're pretty sure that Morgan has a gun on his hip. He's hiding it underneath his camping jacket, but the slight bulge of a firearm is hard to miss. Wayne looks a little bit rattled as well, but he shakes his head and says that he hasn't seen or heard anything either. The rest of them keep moving, talking about old times and generally not paying attention to their surroundings. You can almost feel the eyes on you as you go. Whatever it is that's stalking you comes closer and closer. You can sense it as it prepares to spring, but no one else seems to understand the danger that they're in, except for Ella. You come to the edge of an overlook, Glen Forest, sprawling below you as the lake shimmers in the distance, and some of the enchantment returns to the hike. It's about an hour after dark now, and the night sky is beautiful as the full moon hangs overhead. Morgan and Marcy go to stand on the edge, and it's hard not to notice that Morgan has his arm around her. You had suspected the two of them were dating for a while, but you can see how close they are now. Wayne is finishing a smoke, and Ella is still shivering a little as she stands away from the rest of them. She looks unhappy and miserable, and you think it might be a good idea to go see what has her so spooked. You go talk to Ella, and she looks at you like there might be a bug crawling on her skin. She's pretty shaken up by something, and when you touch her arm, she jumps a little before looking sheepishly and trying to smile. It's nothing. I'm just... She thinks about it for a moment before barreling ahead before she can lose her nerve. Something doesn't feel right. I know the others say they can't feel it, but something just feels off. You feel it too, right? It's like something has been chasing us ever since we got into the woods. I can feel it breathing down my neck sometimes, and I swear it has something to do with the things that happened to us when we were kids. I know how that sounds, but it's just a feeling. Suddenly, there's a lot of noise from the woods. 3 wolves come walking out. One of them is gray, one of them is a sandy color, and the lead one is definitely the wolf that attacked you at camp. They're growling like they mean to tear you to pieces, and as they come closer, you see Morgan pull his gun from the holster. "Get behind me," he shouts as he levels the gun at the wolves. If the wolf is at all afraid of his gun, it doesn't show it. It snarls as all of them continue to back your group towards the cliff. While the group, Morgan, Wayne, and Marcy, are trapped, you and Ella were standing close to the woods, and they don't seem to have noticed you right away. Ella whispers that you should run, but you can't leave your friends behind. So, time for another choice. What are we doing? Are we running or are we fighting? Running or fighting? Those are our choices. So you guys tell me what we're going to do. What's the play here, guys? Are we fighting or are we fighting? If you guys are just joining us, by the way, we are listening to The Curse of Camp Nostalgia, which is our Choose Your Own Adventure that we're reading right now. I think we've got 3 for fighting. That sounds like a consensus. Anybody else want to chime in for a flight argument? Nope, that's 4 for fighting. So I guess we are fighting. Hey, Blessed, it's great to see you. We're glad you could make it. You don't have a gun or even a weapon, but you decide to grab a large tree limb and attempt to defend your friends. You surprise the wolves by running at their backs, and as you swing your branch, you hit the sandy-colored wolf in the back of the neck. He flops over with an unhappy noise, but suddenly the large black and red wolf is running around and snarling at you. He lunges, biting you on the arm, but then he backs off, seemingly disinterested in hurting you. The wound on your arm scares you a little, making it obvious that you need to get out of there. Let me change that up a little bit. Let's see. Okay. You go running off into the woods, trying to put as much distance between you and the wolves as possible. You can hear your friends yelling from behind you, and you can hear Ella's footsteps as she books it through the woods, trying to get away. You don't know exactly what you're going to do, but you know that if you want to continue to do it, then you need to get out of here. You start running back up the trail, a trail that you would know anywhere. It doesn't take long before you're flying back towards the camp, but when the big gray wolf steps into your path, you sense that something might be amiss. He doesn't attack you. He just lunges forward and delicately bites your arm before retreating back into the woods. It's very odd, but you don't question it too much. You juke around him, going off-road as you head into the woods and get around him. There's a rustle to your left as you move into the woods. What direction will you go? Alright, choice time. Will you go left or go right? Or stay on the path, or stay on your course? So, are we going left or are we staying on course? Is there static? I don't know. If I'm not recording, usually I don't get a lot of feedback. not sure why. That's a brand new cord. Why is there static? Hang on a sec, guys. Let me see. There should not be any static. It's really weird. Well, I just don't understand that. See if that helps. Why is there static? Plug in here. I'm gonna be pretty pissed if it wasn't the cord all along. Okay. Well, I guess it's just placement. I don't know. Like I said, I'm going to be pretty unimpressed if I bought a whole new cord. Okay, that's better. Alrighty, so what did we decide to do? We're gonna... Looks like we're gonna stay the course. Okay, so we're gonna stay the course, I think. Alright. The black and red wolf lunges out of the dark and bites you on your leg, sending you sprawling to the ground. He doesn't attack. Instead, he runs off into the woods again, as if he was just trying to trip you up. Now you've come to an unfamiliar crossroads, unsure of what to do now that you've found yourself off the trail. So, do we go left? Or do we go right? Well, I mean, it's cold enough to be Christmas time over here for certain. This is the coldest October I've seen in a while. It looks to be... We've got one of each. One for go left and one for go right. Two for go right. I think the go rights have got it on this one. Let's see what happens. Uh-oh. You stumble into a hole that definitely wasn't there when you were a kid. You fall and hit your head and never wake up. You died. So, we'll go back and go left, I guess. Okay, so if we go left, somehow you stumble to the edge of the lake, pretty close to the place where you saw the wolf. You saw the wolf the first time. You make your way carefully around the edge of the lake and find yourself back at the cabin. Inside, you can hear someone sobbing lightly. You make it to the cabin and find that Ella has beaten you there. She's crying, cradling her arm in her hand, and when she sees you, she runs over and hugs you. Thank goodness! I thought that everyone had died. I thought for sure that the wolves had gotten everybody. How did you manage to escape?" You tell her about the harrowing flight through the woods, and when you finish, she shakes her head and says that the wolves didn't seem to want to attack her either. They just bit me, and then they went away. It was very strange. I don't know a lot about wolves, but this seems like abnormal behavior for sure. Do you think they're infected or something? I mean, like they have rabies or something? Before you can answer, somebody barrels into the door, and you see Morgan and Marcy come running in. They slam the door behind them, locking it with the flimsy catch, and when they see the two of you there, they look relieved. "Thank goodness," Marcy says. "We thought for sure that all of you had been eaten by wolves. Are you okay?" You tell them what happened to you, and Morgan shakes his head as he tells you how Wayne didn't make it. He pushed us out of the way since we realized that the gun wasn't going to do any good. I heard him screaming out in the woods, and he just stopped all of a sudden. It was awful. I've known Wayne since we were in kindergarten. I can't believe he's gone. Something started banging on the door about that time, and everyone looked over in mingled horror. "We got to get out of here," said Marcy. "No," Morgan said. "We got to barricade the doors. We can outlast these animals, but only if we stay inside. We have to keep our wits about us." All right, gang. Choices time. Are we staying in the cabin? Or are we leaving the cabin? Well, I mean, he's not far off. It's a couple of months away, but he's not far off. About a month away. So, staying in the cabin, leaving the cabin. What are we doing? Whoop, we got a tie so far. That's a surprise. I did not think you guys would pick leave. Anybody else want to cast in? So far we have 2 for leaving the cabin. Don't forget, guys, group participation is worth 40% of your grade. So. I guess we're leaving the cabin. Oh, okay. That's a consensus, I suppose. Alright, let's see. Okay, while the others are barricading the door, you see Marcy slip out the window. You follow her, running into the woods, and notice that that the feeling of being stalked is no longer upon you. You feel so good that you accidentally slip down a ravine and break your legs. You lie in the woods until you succumb to the elements. You have died. Hey, Kathy, we're glad you could make it. We're just dying all over the place tonight. Goodness. I guess we will go back to barricading the doors. Oh, most definitely. Okay, so you agree with Morgan and decide to start barricading the doors. There are plenty of bunks and things to use as barricades, and as the windows begin to rattle too, Morgan organizes you guys into a barricade group. Get those bunks against the windows. Shove those boxes and the lockers against the doors. We have to get everything butted up before more of them show up. You help move the bunks so that you can get everything ready, and when the banging begins to stop just before the sun comes up, you think it might be over. Then comes a knock on the door that suddenly makes everybody jump. It's Wayne. "Let me in. I'm hurt pretty bad." It takes some convincing, but Morgan finally lets Wayne in. Wayne is a mess. He's been bitten up pretty badly by the wolves, and by the way he's staggering, you can tell he's lost a lot of blood. He flops onto one of the bunks and sighs as he stares at the ceiling. "It was terrible. I thought they were going to eat me, but they just bit me up a little and then left me alone. I didn't know what to do, but when they stopped biting me and left me for dead, I figured everything would be fine." Excuse me. "I got up and started limping back to camp, but I couldn't find anyone till I got here." "I'm sorry for leaving you. We assumed they had torn you apart." Wayne shrugged. "It was survival of the fittest. I would have done the same." Morgan offers to venture out and see if he can find any food, and after 20 minutes of waiting, he comes back to say that he can't find hide nor hair of any wolves. He recommends that we be cautious, staying together as you go out and look for food. He doesn't have to tell anybody twice, all of you seeming to know that something bad is afoot. You find your supplies have been ransacked, and anything that wasn't stored in the cabin has been wrecked. Marcy suggests you all get back in the car and leave, but when you go to inspect the vehicle, you find that all 4 tires have been punctured and the keys are missing from your bag. You're all seemingly stranded here, and Morgan suggests maybe it might be a good idea to look for a phone. The camp had a phone. They'd let you call home sometimes if you were feeling really bad. It's got to be around here somewhere. Let's split up and see if we can find it. Let's see. Wayne said that he thought he saw a phone in the mess hall the day before and was going back to check. Ella said that she was going to check the nurse's office, since she remembered the nurse calling a doctor for someone once. Morgan said that he was going to check the counselor's office, and that if anyone wanted to join him, they'd be more than welcome. Who will you accompany? Alright, so who are we going with to look for a phone? Are we going with Wayne? Are we going with Ella? Or are we going with Morgan? Who are we going to check for phone with? I got 1 vote for Ella. Anybody else want to weigh in? That's 2 for Ella. I think the Ellas have got it there. So we will go with Ella. Ella takes you to the old nurse's office. The place is small, more like 2 broom closets put together, but the smell of old disinfectant hangs around it like a ghost. You can see that most of the supplies have been lost. Their holders cracked and broken as they lay on the ground. Ella looks around for a phone, but eventually she starts opening drawers and looking around for something else. You ask her what it is she's searching for, but she doesn't answer. All she tells you is she needs to be clean, and that if she can't get clean, then she doesn't want to live anymore. She shows you several bites on her arm, and though she doesn't seem to understand that they look fine, she does understand that she needs to have them cleaned out before she gets sick. You look around for a phone as she pulls disinfectant out of drawers, but you don't see any. Finally, you leave her to her cleaning and continue to go look for a phone. Alrighty, do we want to go with anybody else? So, we can go with Morgan or we can go with Wayne. Who else would you like to accompany? Because, Blondie, horror movie logic, of course. Didn't you know we had tripped into a slasher flick here? Oh, we got one for Morgan and one for Wayne. Two for... Okay. Seems to be that Morgan is the consensus here. Well, definitely. Let's see. So... Morgan goes to the counselor's office, saying that they called his parents from the phone in here once when he had done something that he shouldn't have. It was just supposed to be a harmless prank, but I guess it got a little bit out of hand. Excuse me. They were talking about kicking me out. They were going to call my parents to come pick me up. I begged them not to, told them I hadn't meant anything by it, and they decided to give me a second chance before sending me home. I never got into trouble like that again, thankfully, but it was almost the end of my time at Camp Nostalgia, right then and there. You see the old desk where Counselor Rutherford used to sit and do his paperwork, and as you search the desk for a phone, you seem to be coming up with nothing. Finally, you see the handset for the old phone underneath the desk. You pick it up, but you know it's not going to be an option the second you see it. The line is cut, the handset just a handset, and it's pretty clear that nobody is going to be making any calls today. Alright, so do we want to go with Wayne, or do we want to move on? Do we want to go with Wayne, or do we want to move on? It's up to you guys. Because Wayne is our only option left. But, I mean, we could always move on to the next part. It's 2 for Wayne. Looks like we're going for a consensus here. Okay. Wayne has opted to return to the mess hall. It's the same as when we left it, but now it appears he's keeping an eye peeled for something else. Wayne seems a little bit distracted, maybe even a little bit hungry. He proceeds to the kitchen area, but instead of looking for a phone, he heads into the cooler and starts looking for other things to eat. There isn't much, mostly canned goods, but Wayne doesn't care as he looks for a can opener and starts to eat the contents rapidly. When you ask him what he's doing, he says he's just so hungry that he can't help himself. He starts eating baked beans by the can, and as he continues eating, you leave him to it. Alright, so we're going to move on to the next part, which is called Missing. Definitely. It isn't until everyone is finished. Hang on. It isn't until you and Morgan are finished that you notice that someone is missing. It's the first time you've realized that no one has seen Marcy for a little while, and it appears that she's stepped away. There's no sign of a scuffle back at the cabin, but it's hard to be sure when the wolves have been so careful all along. We need to search the woods again. If Marcy is out there, then she might be hurt or in trouble. We need to make sure she's okay. You and Morgan decide to go, as Wayne is still too busy eating, and Ella won't leave the nurse's office as she continues to clean her wounds. You decide to take a similar walking path you did yesterday, making your way along the ridge so you can find Marcy if she went back that way for some reason. You and Morgan head off into the woods as you look for Marcy, neither of you really expecting to find her. You wander into the woods, afternoon already beginning to set around you. You aren't quite sure what to do out here. The once peaceful landscape begins to seem less friendly than it did when you were a kid. Morgan seems upset, his girlfriend still MIA. I don't know what I'll do if I can't find her. She was so excited about this trip that I feel like I've let her down by not keeping her safe. You notice that Morgan seems a little jumpier than usual. He's scratching his arms and looking around at every small noise. He seems very on edge, and as the overlook comes into view, you see someone standing there. It's Marcy, and as she turns, her grin is almost wolfish. I'm glad you made it. I was hoping you two would come here before the change. As if on cue, Morgan falls to his hands and knees and turns into a large black wolf. Even in his current form, you can tell he's scared. Two other wolves come out of the woods, one of them mud brown and the other a soft gray color. You're pretty sure it's Ella and Wayne. Though you're not sure how you know. I figured it would only take 12 hours before the change started. Don't worry, you'll be fine. When you ask her what's going on, she points to you and says you already know the story. When that camper went missing all those years ago, he didn't leave empty-handed. He met up with a werewolf who just so happened to live in the woods. It was a young one, not quite that adept at hiding like the rest of them. He bit John early in the day, and then John bit me, and I too became a werewolf. I've held on to it for years, being careful and trying not to be noticed. But when the changes started to become more frequent, I thought I might need a pack of my own. I decided to recruit my 4 best friends, who would surely want to come and be wolves with me. So what do you say? Would you like to join my wolf pack? You feel a burning in your guts as you start to change. You fall to all fours and see that you too have become a wolf. So, will you join Marcy, or will you go off on your own? So it looks like Marcy's a werewolf. So, are we going to join Marcy's pack, or are we heading off on our own? What's the play, guys? What would we like to do? That's 1 for join. I think that's 3 for join. Yeah, I think we have a consensus there. You join the others, and all 5 of you make a new werewolf pack out in the woods. The people of the town talk about the howls of some reborn wolf pack for years to come, as you and your friends dominate the woods and think about nothing except hunting and sleeping and living ever again. The end. So yeah, that one was pretty straightforward. It was wasn't too in depth, I don't think. But just a fun little werewolf story. I thought you guys would like that. Whoa, what is going on there? I must have bumped my camera. There we go. I tell you what, I might read some of the winners from the contest, just so that just so you guys can hear them. Thank you. Give me just a second to go to the bathroom, and I will be right back. Alrighty, welcome back. So, now that we have finished our werewolf tale, I think maybe we'll read from our holiday story winners. Let's see here. Okay. Haha. So that you guys can hear what cool stories I got for Halloween this year. Okay, let's see. Do. Let me cut that one down. Okay. Alrighty, so we will read Midnight Trail of Terror first by our own Leia. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Get my voice just right here. Tell you what, let me go ahead and kill two birds with one stone here. Go ahead and record it while I do it. And then I want it to record it tomorrow. You know, if it'll be cooperative at least. Okay, so you always know when fall has arrived, that certain chill in the air. The colors change, the leaves raining down in tiny whirlwinds. Tyler and his friends, Chris, Ron, and Malcolm, had just played and won that week's high school football game. On top of that, Christy Pierce had agreed to go to the fall ball with Tyler, just a few days away. All was right in Tyler's world. "Dude, that touchdown was totally awesome," Ron yelled at Malcolm. Malcolm, his skin the color of black coffee and eyes a golden brown, blushed as he took the compliment. "Man, I never knew I had it in me. One-handed catch. That was all God." Christopher pressed his hands together in prayer and smiled ear to ear. "We were all praying for that play. I told you prayer works." Tyler grinned, but found his attention pulled towards a flyer that hung loosely on a nearby pole. He walked over and grabbed the corner of the paper and yanked. "Come one, come all, come see the Midnight Trail of Terror. Do you have what it takes to survive your darkest fears?" The paper was ripped, wrinkled, and thinning from being out in the elements, but still, Tyler couldn't turn his eyes away. It showed the depiction of a maze with hastily drawn, deliberated shacks and a large bonfire that sat in the middle of the page. "Tyler! Earth to Tyler!" Ron shouted. "What is that?" He grabbed the flyer, but Tyler refused to let it go. Tyler lit up as he began telling his friends about the trail. "It's next week at midnight, dude. Let's go." Malcolm looked at them, both eyebrows raised. Excuse me. Malcolm looked at them, both eyebrows raised. "Are you guys insane? Have you ever seen a horror movie? I'm not planning on dying anytime soon." "Oh, come on," Tyler said. "It's Halloween. I highly doubt murder is on their list. It's just a haunted house. What could happen?" Malcolm sighed. "Famous last words," he muttered. The week seemed to last forever, but as October 30th ended and the midnight hour on Halloween quickly approached, Tyler, Christy, Malcolm, Ron, and Chris stood just outside the small ticket booth. Only one other couple stood nearby. I'm John, and this is my girlfriend Stacy, he said, introducing himself to Tyler and the others. The number of cars was quite off-putting. Only 5 or 6 in the lot beside their... Blech, if I could talk. Only 5 or 6 sat in the lot beside their own. We've been hearing screams and music. It sounds promising. We just thought there would be more people here. It's good to see someone else, Stacy said, more to Christy since they were the only females there. I honestly didn't want to come, Christy said, but Tyler can be very persuasive. She grinned and gave a small wink. More screams pierced the night air, giving the group of teens a boost of adrenaline as they waited to enter. Behind them, a masked, hooded figure walked into the light, wrapped his cloak. If I could read. Wrapped his cloak around John and Stacy and disappeared into the maze. Ron gave them all a look. So much for formalities. Did you guys see that guy's... Did you see that guy's mask? Looks like it was from the 70s. This better not suck, Ty. You can hear the screams, dude. It's going to be great, Tyler responded. Chris rolled his eyes. It's probably a soundtrack or something. As they bickered between themselves, Christy turned as she heard slow footsteps behind her. It was time, and as the man in the plastic mask spread his arms wide, the group of teens gathered together, Tyler taking Christy's hand in his. Happy Halloween, he whispered, as they entered into the ramshackled maze. Immediately, they were immersed in darkness. The only light remaining being the flames of the bonfire they'd left behind. How are we supposed to see anything? Ron complained. As if on cue, a pathway lined with yellow and orange lights appeared in front of them. Hey guys, this way, he called, but no one seemed to hear him. He looked back to the pathway and started to follow the lights. The yellow and orange faded into the red and blue of emergency vehicles, their movements becoming nauseating. Ron blinked away the dizziness as he focused on what was in front of him. A car with a busted windshield and a dented hood, and a crumpled body that lay prone in front of the car. The scene was familiar. The scene was a familiar one, and Ron felt his blood turn to ice. As he moved closer to the car, he whispered to himself, No, 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 no one knew. How did... His words were cut off as the same hooded man came before him. You let him die. An innocent man, husband, father, while you, a drunk, spoiled teenager, walked free. The voice was demonic, low, growling. Your darkest fear was being discovered as a murderer, and now you, Ronald, will face your fate. Time to die. The demonic presence raised its arms into the air and produced a large bottle of liquor. He forced it into Ron's mouth, little shards of glass tearing into the skin of his face. Ron cried out and tried to fight, but found his arms useless. His legs were jelly. His immediate drunken stupor caused Ron to stumble onto the dead man's body that lay at his feet. The corpse began to rise, its bones cracking, tendons snapping with each movement. Ron began to hyperventilate, his biggest fear coming back to haunt him. That night, he had forgotten it. His parents covering up the problem so he wouldn't lose his scholarship. No one knew. He had never told anyone. It was impossible. The broken body moved closer to Ron, its hands outstretched to him, pointing accusingly at him. "Feel my pain," the dead man growled. Ron tried to back away, but stopped as he heard the sound of an engine roaring to life behind him. The tires screeched as the car rammed into Ron, breaking his bones upon impact. And as Ron breathed his last, the lights faded away into nothingness. "Did you hear that? Was that Ron?" As Christy held tight to Tyler's arm, she looked over her shoulder. "Where is Ron?" she asked. "He's not with the group anymore." Tyler shrugged. "Who knows? Probably found a shortcut. Gotta admit, it's kind of lame so far." But as he spoke, he felt Christy being pulled away from him. Within an instant, she had vanished out of sight. He found himself alone, with a pathway bathed in green light urging him onward. The trail felt more like a mountainside, and he began to descend into a dark pit. When his eyes adjusted to the dimly lit area, his senses heightened. He was standing underneath a treehouse, his initials along with the others carved into the trunk. B.D. Billy Davis. Tyler's fingers traced the carving, his skin breaking out with chills. 3 shovels rested against the tree, dirt still clinging to the metal. The rustling of leaves caught Tyler's attention, and he spun around, trying to find the source of the noise. When he spotted the reason, he wished he hadn't. 2 small hands were clawing their way out of a shallow grave, fingernails dirty and bleeding, skin caked with mud. "No, this can't be happening." The boy heaved himself out of the hole, opening his mouth in a silent scream as the worms that had feasted on his body dropped to the ground. "Billy, I'm so sorry. We were kids. I don't know what to do." "I didn't know what to do." There we go. Where were we? Tyler took a step back, only to find himself at the edge of a large open grave. His arms flailed to keep his balance, but it was no use. He fell into the grave, tears streaming down his face. "Billy, please, I'm sorry. Please don't do this." The decomposing child grabbed a shovel and began filling the grave around Tyler. What seemed to be a truckload of earth piled onto him, causing him to cough and gag as he tried clawing himself upwards. More dirt fell on him, trapping his legs. Tyler felt his heart pounding in his chest. He'd never told anyone about Billy's death. It was supposed to be a stupid prank, but it went all wrong. Billy was buried alive. He was only 9 years old and wanted to be included in Tyler's group of friends. They told him it was an initiation. He had to stay in the hole for 5 minutes without crying like a baby. Tyler had been the one to pack the dirt, sealing Billy's fate and becoming his murderer. The dim lights began to fade around Tyler, and he screamed as he took his last breath. "I'm sorry, Billy." Chris and Malcolm led Christy further into the maze. "Tyler! Ryan! Tyler, where are you?" Oh, that's the wrong voice. Need a different voice there. "Tyler! Ryan! Tyler, where are you?" Malcolm yelled. "I'm gonna steal your girl," he laughed, as Christy rolled her eyes and swatted at his arm. The deeper they traveled, the more elaborate the decor became. No longer was it the typical Halloween attraction. It seemed to become more unsettling, more realistic. Christy found herself alone with Malcolm, walking through the woods at a snail's pace. "I don't like this, Malcolm. Tyler and Ron can't have just disappeared into thin air. Something isn't right." She reached for her phone, trying to dial. If I could talk. She reached for her phone, trying to dial Tyler's number, but had no signal. "Great," she muttered. "I'm going to have to be back in the parking lot to call anybody." She got no reply from Malcolm or Chris. "Malcolm? Chris, guys, this isn't funny. Come on." She spun in a circle, but saw no one with her. "Great, just freaking perfect," she whispered. She took a deep breath and continued her walk, not knowing that only feet from her, Chris had entered his own personal hell. Chris had taken his eyes off Malcolm for a split second before hearing his name being whispered into his ear. He could see a small shed in a clearing ahead of them, and he could hear the beginnings of a fire being started. The smell of smoke filled his nostrils as he approached the tiny building. He felt his heart thumping in his chest. He knew this place. He hated this place. Chris's mind took him back in time, and he saw the man that Chris had been told had brutally attacked his sister. Chris had taken his own form of justice out on this lowlife of a human being. The shed burst into flames, causing Chris to stumble back. The sound of someone screaming in his ear made his brain vibrate with the noise. "I never touched her. She lied to you. She lied to everyone." Chris held his hands over his ears and shook his head. "You got what you deserve. You destroyed my sister." The burning man flew in front of Chris, mere inches between them. Chris felt the heat of the fire and began to sweat. "Your sister was a whore who blamed an innocent man when she was caught." He grabbed Chris by his shirt, the flames burning through and scorching his chest. Chris tried to scream, but the pain was so great he could only gasp and cry. "You ruined my life, and now you'll pay with yours. When you reach the 7th level of hell, tell your sister hello for me." The man lifted Chris and threw him into the burning shed. The ceiling collapsed on top of him, pummeling him to the ground. As the fire rose around him, Chris breathed in the fiery air, the flames entering his mouth as he screamed his last. Malcolm kept his head on a swivel, looking both ways for any sign of his friends. One by one, they had vanished, disappeared into thin air. Malcolm screamed out from time to time, "Christy, where are you? Guys!" To his right, a ghostly figure raised a bony arm, beckoning him to follow. At once, the energy changed around him. It was frantic, anxious, deadly. Malcolm could hear laughter, shouts of terror, and the thudding sound of flesh being beaten. He could hear bones snapping with the force of each blow, and smell the coppery scent of blood permeating the air. His physical surroundings became familiar. and it made his skin crawl. "Oh no, not this," he whispered. As he grew closer to the scene, he recognized the bloody mess that lay before him. The homeless man was crumpled in a fetal position, his face badly beaten and broken, covered in thick, copious amounts of blood. The man stirred, and with jerky movements he rose to his feet, turning his head on a brown neck. Malcolm wanted to scream, but could only silently pray for help. The man seemed to know exactly what he had prayed for, and gave only an evil grin. "No one will help you. No one can stop your fate." With a bloody hand, the man produced an old rusted hammer, bits of flesh and bone still clinging to the iron claws. Malcolm's eyes grew wide as he pleaded with the man. "I had nothing to do with all that. I tried to stop them. I was the one who called for help, but they threatened my family. I wanted to help you. Please." "We'll see you, Mia. We're glad you could join us." With each slow step, the man stared into Malcolm's eyes, and as he reached just inches away, tears swam down his cheeks. All he could do was close his eyes and pray. Malcolm heard the hammer hit the ground with a loud thump. He opened his eyes to watch the vagrant slowly tilt his head, nodding gently in understanding that he believed Malcolm's words. With a deep breath, Malcolm turned in a full circle. He was back in the woods, alone, but alive. Christy couldn't help but cry as she walked along the earthy path. Her sobs came in waves as she pleaded for someone, anyone, to help her. "Christy," a raspy voice floated through the night air. The hair on her arms stood at attention at the sound. She knew that voice. Barry Santana, her once abusive boyfriend. A boyfriend that she herself had put into the ground. After a long day at the family cabin, Christy begged him to take her home. That had been enough for him to explode. He was used to it. Not he. She was used to it by now, hiding bruises, making excuses. She was sure half the school thought that she was a tremendous klutz. The other half whispered behind her back about the abuse. While standing by the woodshed, she received the first shove. It escalated from there. After each blow of anger, she found herself closer and closer to the freshly cut wood and the axe. He had been on one of his rants about how worthless she was, how weak. And when her eyes were almost swollen shut, nose broken and bleeding, she took up the axe and swung. His head hung on by a few tendons, spraying her from head to toe with a crimson flow. She had watched him fall to his knees, never to hurt her again. "Christy," the sing-song tone vibrated in the inky blackness. "Look what you did to me, Christy. Look what you did to me." She took a deep breath, filling her lungs with as much air as possible, and tried to run. A pair of bruised and bloody hands tore at her clothing. "You hurt me, Christy. You hurt me real bad." He threw his head back, showing, not throwing. showing the thin threads of skin and tendons that remained. Nodding forward, he quickly replaced the head and grinned. "Nice party trick, Barry." No, that's Christy. "Nice party trick, Barry." Her words dripped with sarcasm as she spoke. His fist shot out at lightning speed, catching her jaw and sending her spinning on her. Off her feet. Christy steadied herself, not showing fear. She had promised herself that she would never let another man put his hands on her, and had enrolled in self-defense classes. She faced him, gave a nod, and smiled. "I've already killed you once, you son of a bitch. I'll do it again." It was Barry's turn to laugh. "Bring it, little girl." They squared off, Christy not backing down no matter how many times he struck her. Barry chided her as she bled, her forehead open and her lips split. Little rivulets of crimson trickled down her face and neck. Still, she didn't back down. "My turn," she whispered, spitting blood at his feet. Her punch came swift, landing assuredly on their target. In the beginning, Barry simply laughed them off, but when Christy began using her legs, her knees ramming his groin, he doubled over in pain. She gave a high thrusting kick that even a 90s WWE... Oh, okay, I missed the word. Because the visuals here are spot on. She gave a high thrusting kick that even 90s WWE great Shawn Michaels would have been proud of, her own version of sweet chin music, and watched as the head swung backwards. Christy jumped on his back, tearing at his fallen head, ripping it free from the body. As he dropped, she held his bloody head high in the air and gave it a primal scream. When she finally took a cleansing breath, she looked around. Barry was gone. His head was gone. She had survived, and now she had to get out of this place and find help for her friends. Christy ran through the woods, trying to recall the corny decorations that had been placed on the trail. The light of the bonfire shone in the distance, and she forced herself to keep running. The rustle of leaves and debris behind her caused Christy to panic and scream as she reached the road. Her phone finally had service as she frantically dialed 911. "My friends, they're dead. They're all dead." She dropped to her knees as she spoke to the dispatcher. An arm flung itself around her, and she wailed into the phone. As she turned, Malcolm heaved himself to a standing position and smiled down at her. "Malcolm, you're here. I can't believe it. You're here." She threw her arms around his neck and sobbed into him. Malcolm panted as he stared down at her. "I told you," he said, bringing his hands together before pointing upward. "It's all God." Christy's tears flowed freely down her blood-streaked cheeks. Her hair, once shiny and sleek, now lay matted against her face. Her breath came in short bursts as she sobbed, and her body became racked with tremors as a female officer tried to comfort her. "You won't believe me," Christy cried. "No one will." Detective Thompson nodded as the paramedics tended to the young woman's injuries and helped wrap a blanket around Christy's shoulders. Malcolm walked to Christy's side, taking her hand in his. The detective looked at both of them and took a breath. "Start from the beginning. Tell me what happened. Where are your friends?" He pulled a pen and notepad from his tan trench coat. "I'm listening now, Christy." She forced herself to meet his gaze and rubbed at her puffy eyes. With a deep breath, she began to speak. What Thompson was about to hear would be the most gruesome experience he would ever investigate. And there you go. That is Midnight Trail of Terror. It's a good story. Leia, you should be very proud of yourself. That is a great story. My goodness. I doubt I could have wrote a better one. Let's see. I need Bev's story. Where is Bev's story? Alrighty. Very awesome story, Leia. Absolutely. And now we're going to read Bev's story called Dead Tree. My goodness, Leia, you'll have to open up your own YouTube channel. That was a really good one. Alrighty, so this one is by our other winner, Bev. We love Bev on this channel. She writes good stuff too. So it is called Dead Tree, and I think that's going to take us out tonight. So here we go. Dead Tree stubbornly stood, his grisly knotted face, resolute trunk, and thick, warm, swirling bark, decorated with grooves of time, like medals, marking his strength and tenacity. Each winter slept, awarded another lap of honor. Branches, stripped naked by merciless wind, stripped of his glorious green garment, his crown, his canopy, to which the birds had once flocked, offered neither shelter nor shade, but only mocked from behind gray wisps of threatening rain. Stripped back to bare bones, Tree stands firm, his belief unshakable, like that of his foundation, winding its way deep into the earth, taking nourishment from the deep. Tree was old, older than the dust of dying stars, older than the rock on which the dust fell, older than the morning star and the warmth it created. As though in reverence to this, the clouds parted and bathed his branches briefly. Skeletal remains of what used to be lay in and around his roots, where children had once played, where grumpy, unsociable badgers make their den and raise their young. Excuse me. Vaunted black sentries stand resolute, harbingers of doom. Crackling claws imply impending calamity. Tree had faith, each spring reborn, branches stretching outward, reaching towards cerulean skies. Among the gnarled skeletal fingers reaching for the sun, for her blessing, her nurture, like a newborn child reaching for his mother's breast. Tiny emeralds of hope dare peep, promises of the soon-coming majesty yet to unfurl. Tree, wise, stoic, steadfast, patient. Tree knew death was not an end, just a season. When the vague shape of a little girl with emerald in her eyes came to Tree, place her hand upon him, her fingers tracing the grooves and knots. that his endurance had awarded him. Entranced by his strength and his alluring presence, she asked him, eyes wide, glittering green fire, if he was truly if he was really true. She had been searching for so long. The girl remembered living. Always darkness, always pain, always hunger, always suffering. The girl's life on earth, etched on her body, for all to see, as if cracks, marks, and scars decorated her tiny body, were reflected onto Tree. The girl ran her fingers over her own scars, thin Tree's, asked without words to please take her in. Tree, of course, did not refuse, and as the hum of Tree enveloped her, the little girl sang loud. I gotta get that one right. The little girl sang loudly, with knowing and belonging. She resonated within Tree, echoing, singing, rippling throughout his whole being. Tiny blossoms began to form. Pink treasures of love gathered and clustered along the emerald hope. Shredded red ribbons that once wrapped her pain fluttered briefly, then dissipated into the ether, as though the existence of them had never been. No, man, it's we're about to wrap up, I think, but it was a choose your own adventure night. We really didn't have a long one. Tree stretched and his boughs groaned. His roots, sleepy and stiff, searched for nourishment. The little girl gave it gladly. Happy to have found a vessel. Tree wished he could save them all. The last one, perhaps he could. He'd lost count of how many he'd taken in. Tree yearned. The lost ones would find him, or one of his brothers or sisters. He had hundreds of years to spend waiting for them, a beacon of hope. For death, he knew, was just a season. And just as humans lay dying, finally find understanding, they gave their last breath to speak reassurances to those most precious. I will never leave you. I will always be with you. Tree wished they understood the truthfulness of those words. Death, he knew, was just a season. For those that had no one to whisper their truth, whose last breath had no audience, no roots, no branches, no roots. Those who did not know where to go, Dead Tree stubbornly stood, waiting to welcome them and bring them in from the cold. And there you go. Bev blessed us with a poem. I like Bev's poems. Bev's poems are good poems. But I think that's going to do it for us for tonight. 2 stories and a choose your own adventure is about my limit this evening. I hope you guys enjoyed our live stream tonight. Um, like I said, I probably won't live stream next week until Saturday. Um, next time I've got some writing time during the week, I'll do a little live stream for you guys. I've got to, I gotta help my brother with some stuff, and we gotta set up his YouTube channel, so I'm probably gonna be out of pocket a lot next week. But, I'm really hoping to catch up with you guys next Saturday, and I say I'm gonna be resting, but I'm gonna be doing a lot of writing this week, so, excuse me. There will be a lot of cool stuff next week, so don't miss it. And I hope we'll see you guys in the next one. Dr. Plague, signing off. You guys have a lovely evening, and I hope you have a great upcoming week. Night, guys. Love ya.